Welcome to the Beyond Jiu-Jitsu podcast. This is episode 163. My name is Kieren Lefebvre.
Hello, Kieren. My name's Adam Childs. How are you?
That is it. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Kieren. All the way from Sweden.
Yes, I'm Swedish, if you can't tell by my accent. I'm very Swedish.
Yes, bro. Man, it's like last week we were talking about how you're sitting over there in the cold. I'm in the heat. Just like so hot in the gym tonight. It was pretty gross. Actually, you know what? It was one of those days where it doesn't feel too hot. And then the second you increase your heart rate by 1 beat per minute, you're sweating profusely and you're like, God damn, it's hot, you know?
Bro, that sounds great to me right now because I'm freezing something off. I'm cold. It's cold here, bro.
Where you are, what time currently is the sun up and sun down?
Like around 8 o'clock sun up and around, I'd say around 3:30, 4 p.m. sundown.
That's so shit.
See, I don't know. I'll have to look it up, the actual sunset. Set to Sweden. Let me tell you.
It's pretty early.
Yep. So sunrise is at 9 a.m. Sorry, today. It was at 9 a.m. And sunset is at 2:48 p.m. So
oh my God.
I was way off.
Not even 6 hours of sunshine.
No, it's pretty bad. It gets worse and worse. It's pretty miserable.
You were already pasty white.
Yeah, bro. I'm going to be like, I come back to Australia and I'm going to have to be very careful. Slip, slop, slap and all that. Good gear. But for those listening to this very riveting introduction, today's episode is something a bit different to our usual programming, but not really. We are going to be talking about a whole bunch of random topics. I don't know what Adam has prepared. Adam doesn't know what I've prepared. And it's kind of like a bit of a Christmas special, if you will. So let's just get the bad news out of the way. I suppose we could have saved it to the end. But give you some bad news and then hopefully a good episode. But bad news is, for you, that we will not be publishing a episode on Christmas Day like we have done in the previous years. We will be taking a 2-week break for the holiday season. So sorry about that. If this really affects you emotionally and you're angry about this, we want to see your hate mail. Please direct it to Vantage Rose Bay.
Oh.
Vantage, send it to Vantage Jiu-Jitsu, P.O. Box. Not me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, as Kieren said, we're going to miss 2 weeks this year. Previously, we've always made an effort to pre-record some extra episodes because we've always figured, man, like during the holidays, we might be on holidays, but let's pre-record some episodes because people are traveling and whatever. Like it's a good time that people want to listen to podcasts. Like I'm about to do a 10-hour drive each direction, so it's like the time that people kind of want content. However, previously that was much easier to do, whereas at the moment with the time zones and our schedules, Kieren and I kind of really only have one small window a week where we get to record.
Yeah.
And then so if we miss that window or if we needed to, record extra episodes, we don't really have any slot during the week because our time zones are almost opposite. And with Kieren's personal life schedule, my personal life schedule, it makes it really hard. So unfortunately that means, the next 2 weeks, like I won't even be at my computer. Like I have access to my computer, even if we wanted to record on Christmas Day, like I won't have my computer with me. So sad face, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. And funnily enough, this year I will be available on Christmas Day because in Sweden, like in lots of countries, they celebrate Christmas the day before. They celebrate
they do
on
in
the
Sweden
24th.
as well.
Yeah, on pretend Christmas.
Okay. How do they go about doing it though?
What do they do to celebrate Christmas?
Yeah, like
but
I mean, like what I mean is, for example, in Brazil, they do that as well. It's on the 24th. But like, how in Australia it's typically, regardless of what your family tradition is on Christmas Day, usually it's kind of it's like a big lunch, right? Like that's the main family thing, a big lunch on Christmas Day.
Yep.
Whereas in Brazil, not only is it on the 24th, like it's at nighttime and it's a dinner and then you're kind of at midnight essentially opening the presents, you know? So it's that 24th to the 25th. It's almost like it's a New Year's Eve thing, you know? It's like it's a nighttime gig with a dinner and presents at midnight.
Yeah,
so I don't know when the fuck Santa's sneaking in to drop off the presents to the kids in that regard. Like,
okay,
anyway.
well, in Sweden, Santa comes to your house and hand delivers the presents. It's fucking weird, dude. It's creepy.
You actually always have. Do you actually always? Someone has to dress up as Santa every year.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
right.
they do a terrible job. Bro, it is so scary. I was so scared of Santa. Like the first, and they don't call it Santa. They call it Yule Tomten. So it's because Yule is Christmas and Tomten, I guess, is his name. So it's Christmas Tomten.
Right.
And that's what they call Santa. Looks the same. It's the Coca-Cola Santa. If you guys don't know, Coca-Cola invented Santa Claus, the modern day Santa Claus. Like the look, the red, blah, blah, blah. And it looks the same, but like they're in the coat and everything, the pants, and they have like the sack of the presents over their shoulder, and the mask, they wear like a plastic mask that looks super fake. You have to be retarded to not like, I shouldn't say that word apparently, but you have to be pretty stupid even as a 6-year-old not to realize that's some random dude in a mask. And then the one year I've seen it wasn't just Santa, but it was like Santa's wife, and they had the same mask on.
Oh my god,
it was so bad. And they kept going oi oi oi, like they were like tired from all the travel, and they had the sack on the shoulder, and they were like walking up, and they were fuck, man, it was so creepy. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then when you get the present from Santa or Yule Tomten, you have to go up and hug Yule Tomten and say thank you and shit, and it's like some random dude in a fucking plastic mask.
That's funny. Well, when we did 2 Christmases ago, my dad dressed up as Santa only for the fact that Atlas, my son, was, he was still 2 at the time. Like, so he was almost 3. So still super young. And my dad dresses up as Santa and walks in, with some presents and stuff. And he's like, ho, 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 doing all the thing. And, and we're all like, oh, let's look at Santa, blah, blah, blah. And my dad goes up to him and he's like, ho, 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 what's your name, little boy? And he's like, my name's Atlas. And then Atlas goes, and your name's Grandpa. And we were like, you just saw through it straight away.
Yeah, no shit.
Like, yeah, but I mean, like a 2-year-old, I was pretty
he's
surprised.
2, he's not stupid.
Yeah.
That's why you gotta get the neighbors, bro, and like the
or a plastic mask. Maybe that would have done.
Yeah, totally. Fuck, man. Like the kids aren't dumb, but oh man, it's super.
Your
weird,
name's Grandpa.
Cringe.
Oh no, it's not. I'm Yule Tomten.
Yeah, I'm Yule Tomten. Yeah, good Yule. Yeah, fuck Sweden. But yeah, they do it at night. It's like a early, I'd say a late lunch, early dinner-ish, my experience. And it's way, way more of a bigger deal in Sweden, man. Like, they care about Christmas. We don't give a shit.
Yeah.
In Australia, like, we care, but it's not like a big thing. In Sweden, in a lot of Europe, it's like a whole month. They fixate on Christmas for all of December. Like, it's a huge thing to them because, it's fucking dark. It's cold. Everyone's a bit sad. So it's the only, good thing they got going on.
Well, it's funny you say that because I had one Christmas in, I have 1 or 2 in Canada when I lived there. I can't remember. Anyway, I think 2 Christmases in Canada, I think. And, I wasn't living in a part of Canada where, I was in Vancouver. So for those who don't know, Vancouver snows like once or twice a year. So it's not like a part of Canada where you're guaranteed to have a white Christmas. And obviously as a tourist, I was hoping for that. But anyway, it didn't happen. But compared to the Australian Christmas, I was like, this is shit. Like, unless it was snowing and you were into snow activities, I was like, this is so bad. Like, it's freezing cold. You can't go outside. You're just like stuck in the house. You can't get away from the annoying relatives that you maybe don't want to be locked indoors with. Whereas in Australia, I don't know about your family, but my family in Australia, and I think most Australian Christmases, because it's summer for us, it's like an outdoor thing, and you know, it's
Yeah, absolutely.
you got, whether you've got a swimming pool or a barbecue or whatever, and you know, the Christmas at my house is essentially in the morning. I don't know whether, I think nowadays with the kids, the presents happen pretty early, right? You wake up and the kids want to open the presents straight away. So, but then breakfast is, I don't know why our family does this. It is not Australian at all. Yeah, ham, cheese, croissants, toasted ham and cheese croissants.
So many families. My family's the same. We've had that tradition since I was like born. It's definitely an Australian thing.
With mimosas, that's what we have for breakfast. So you're starting off getting drunk straight away.
Yeah.
And then the day just carries on with, my parents have always had a swimming pool. So then the day's just carrying on with, like, you know, leading up to lunch. Yeah, by the time you get to lunch, you're already so full because you've been eating shit all day. But then it's like barbecue and swimming in the pool and eating and drinking. Then we make mango daiquiris and whatever. And it's, you know, it's a fuck.
There's a couple of things there that, like, for international listeners, you know, I've found it's an Australian thing. That is a typical Australian Christmas. My family's had the exact same thing. Croissants on Christmas morning is like an Australian thing. It's like one of those weird Australian things. Yeah, heaps of people I know, and my family's done that since, you know, ever since I can remember. And the big thing, though, is the outside, the barbecue. It's almost always a lunch thing instead of a dinner thing. And the final piece to that is drinking.
So much drinking.
Yeah. So Christmas for Australians is drinking.
He's getting well day drunk.
Day drunk, yeah. And even my family, like, by the time lunch actually rolls around, you know, half of my family is fucking wasted, bro. And the other half are under 18. Yeah. Like, you know, it's super cut. And it's super normal. But here in Sweden, people, like, I'm not going to talk for all Swedish people and all Swedish families, but it's not a drinking thing. They don't drink really on Christmas. Like, they might have some schnapps or like, you know, a little bit of wine or something like that with dinner, but they're not getting cut. They're not getting drunk, you know. But in Australia, well, I don't know. I just think it's Australian culture, no matter what holiday. Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, what do you associate Australia Day with?
Flip flops.
Yep.
Or thongs.
Summer. Yep.
Summer. Beach. Bogans and drinking. Yeah.
And drinking. Yep. Cool. Done. Okay. That's Australia. What do you associate Anzac Day with?
Drinking.
Yep.
Drinking games. Drinking and gambling.
Yep. Drinking and gambling. Got it. Okay. Let's play. Let's keep the game going. What do you associate Christmas with? Well, we've done that. Like,
yeah, but you know what? Yeah.
Drinking.
There is
Drinking.
one holiday I think about that I don't default to thinking about. Wait, no, I take it back. I was about to say I don't associate Easter with drinking. I associate Easter with chocolate. But then I was like, wait, isn't Easter Friday or whatever where the bottle shop, the liquor stores and everything close, and so people pre-stock up on their alcohol because so I guess that's a drinking.
Yeah, I can't think of a single fucking holiday that we actually celebrate, that we actually do something for in Australia, that one of the top 3 things about that holiday isn't drinking. And that's standard Australian thing. But I thought that was normal, you know, like that everywhere in the world was like that. But then you go travel and then you experience like holidays in other countries and drinking isn't a thing, like for all holidays. Obviously, you know, you're Americans, you know, you have the 4th of July drinking, you know, you guys might be similar in some respect, but man, Aussies are fucking alcoholics, bro. Like,
100%.
Anyway, but we're not talking about cultural.
It's enough Christmas talk. You do your Christmas, I'll do mine, and
you drink, I'll drink, we'll drink. Anyway, okay, all right. So today's topic-ish is a mishmash of topics, like we mentioned. But I want to kick things off. I have a question to ask you, Adam. And the way I wrote it down, so I'm just going to read it, is what are your thoughts on, air quote, making it in jiu-jitsu as a career? I know we've spoken about this, you know, here and there, but if I've noticed that, you know, like a lot of, okay, so maybe I'm in a bubble, but I've noticed that so many people that start jiu-jitsu get bitten by the bug super hard in the early days. It doesn't really matter how old they are, but it like wherever they are in their journey, like, or particularly if they're a younger person, jiu-jitsu, like they want to make it a career. There's even a guy here in Sweden who is a, very competitive blue belt, and he's only been training for, like a year and a half or something like that, maybe 2 years. And he's already decided, similar to yourself, adds that he wants to make jiu-jitsu his career. And a lot of people you see go in the direction of it being a career via competing. So what are your thoughts in modern day jiu-jitsu on trying to make it as a career? And I have a follow-up question to that.
Like, are you asking, just like an overarching sort of statement question? What do I think about people pursuing jiu-jitsu as a career?
Yeah, and I'm more like, okay, I'll just give the follow-up question now because it sort of goes in tandem. Knowing what you know now, if you could go back in time to when you were a white belt and you made that decision that, no, jiu-jitsu is going to be a career. This is what I want to do for work. This is what I want to do for my life. Knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently? How would you have changed the trajectory? Do you regret anything that you did on your path? Because you also went hey, I want to, pursue jiu-jitsu, so I'm going to treat it like a university. I'm going to try and compete at the highest level possible, so yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's really cool that it's even easier now than it was when I did it. And that's not saying I did anything remarkable. I'm just saying that it's easier because the sport is more popular and it's grown more. But like when I made that decision, it was a bit of a no-brainer for me because I already previously before jiu-jitsu trained other martial arts that I wished I could do it for work, but they weren't martial arts that you could make money from. And when I found jiu-jitsu and I realized that, hey, there's gyms that exist essentially like a fitness gym where people pay memberships and like you can actually have a job doing this. So even though I pursued jiu-jitsu competitively as well, I was already from day one very aware that the money was in running the business side of it and running a gym. So that I think realistically still applies to today. That might change in the future. Like who knows if, we fast forward 50, 100, 200 years or whatever, and jiu-jitsu athletes are making the same as tennis players, or whatever, who fucking knows? And today you can make more money purely from competitive jiu-jitsu than you could 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But, currently as it stands, it's really only those top 1% that are making money solely from competitions, that do well enough just from competitions. The real money is in owning a gym. So I'm all for, I think it's great that people want to pursue that career. I do have a slight gripe with just the nature of any growth in any industry comes at a certain level of, watering down of the quality. Nowadays, you see a lot of gyms that, let me give you an analogy. In Australia, if you were a barista, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing that you study and have to do courses and whatever to be a barista, at a cafe or something. When I lived in Canada, if you just could turn on the drip coffee machine at McDonald's, you were a barista. And there's a lot of gyms nowadays that open in ways that it's the same way that cafes open, so anyone in Australia would know that you go to some cafes and they're next level, right? In terms of the food and the service and everything. But you also go to cafes that you might know are relatively shit, but you don't care. You just go in there to get your coffee and your muffin and it's fine and whatever. And there's a lot of jiu-jitsu gyms like that. They're not really run by qualified professionals. They're just another cafe that's opened and people will still turn up and buy the coffee because people don't really give a shit. They just want their cup of coffee and move on. Right. So, it's a bit of a catch-22 because I don't think you get the growth without some level of that. But anyone wanting to pursue jiu-jitsu as a career, as long as you understand how the market is today, that to have some sort of security in your income, it pretty much needs to be in running a gym, because it's really only the top few guys that are making money just from competitions or just from instructionals. And those two kind of go hand in hand. Without you making a big name for yourself in competition or social media, you ain't selling instructionals, right? And or selling them at the volume required for it to make you money, like significant money. You know, but then you don't have to become a world champion to run a good gym and to be qualified and competent, right? The same way that you don't need to win a Michelin star to be a very competent, qualified chef who runs a good kitchen and a good restaurant with good food and good everything. Like, you don't, like, yeah, it'd be great. Everyone wants that Michelin star, but, you know, some people will never make it and get it. And it doesn't mean you're not a fully qualified chef who makes great food. But yeah, I think a lot of people, you know, expect to be a Michelin star chef, but really they're just making a Subway sandwich, and you're like, fuck, bro. You know, like, that's my thoughts on it. But yeah, I'm as a whole, I love it, right? Like, I mean, as a whole, I love the growth of the sport and more people doing it and more people pursuing it. And I love people being able to make money doing it. But yeah, I would like to see, like, I don't know, it just kind of sucks a little bit. I said this previously when I spoke about standards. Maybe it was the last episode we were talking about belts. I'm well aware there's black belts in the world who would look at me and be like, this dude's like, he's not even a real black belt. I mean, I think I'm real. I got my belt from one of the most credible coaches in the history of jiu-jitsu, right? So, I mean, he thought I was worth it. So, but, you know, I'm aware that some people would look at me as being one of those watered down people, but if that's the case, then imagine from where I'm standing, if I see people that I think are watering it down, then how bad must they be too? So as long as people do their due diligence to, like, try to, you know, raise the bar, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think in order to run a good gym, I think that having good jiu-jitsu is one criteria out of like 20.
Yeah, but I would say it's like a super important one.
Fucking
like,
no. Like, your product is in your coaching, but your product is not just in the coaching and the quality of jiu-jitsu, it's in the experience of the practitioner. Let me give an example. I would rather go to a gym with like C-grade jiu-jitsu that's like, yeah, passable, but, you know, it's like, whatever, versus going to a gym with like some of the best competitors in the world and having a shit experience, being treated like shit, hating every second of it because it's crap, or, you know, whatever, having terrible facilities, for example, or like you get staph infections every second day because, you know, they take a shit on the mats or whatever it is. So there's so much that goes into it. Just to go back to your barista analogy, I think, you know, with the coffee, and you go to a cafe that might not be, you know, the best, but you don't care because you just want the coffee and the muffin. Let me extend that even further. That a lot of people that start training jiu-jitsu have zero idea about anything in jiu-jitsu. They've never done it before, right? So it's the very few amount of people that will go to your gym that knows your coffee sucks. Because a lot of people don't know any better. Now, I'm not saying that's like a get out of jail free card or excuse to be a terrible instructor or run a crap gym, but that's why you have things like McDojos that exist, where literally they're fake black belts and they're making it up. No one knows. No one really knows the difference. But yeah, so I just think that you don't necessarily need to be the world's best jiu-jitsu practitioner to run a good gym. And I know that, yes, you need good enough jiu-jitsu to be able to teach jiu-jitsu, but teaching is a lot more than just, you know, your skill. And running a business is a lot more than you know, just coaching. I've mentioned this before, but the analogy, or the similarities rather, is almost perfect and fits seamlessly into this example. Is a lot of personal trainers, they think that their business evolution is to own a gym, right? And some personal trainers, they absolutely love being personal trainers and pursue personal training. But when they open a gym, they realize, oh, hang on a minute, I'm no longer a personal trainer. They never do any personal training again, and it's all business side. They're running the books. They're doing marketing. They're managing their people. They're upgrading the gym or what, like actually running the actual business, everything that comes along with that. And they're not set up for success because they haven't developed those skills. They haven't developed those business skills, or maybe they just don't fucking like it. And then they're in a situation where they're like, okay, well, I like fitness, and that's why I was a personal trainer, because I like training people. But now I'm running a gym because I thought it was the next step, and it's not what I thought. And I just worry that a lot of young people these days that are pursuing, like, I want to own a gym and want to get into that, when they do get into it, and then they realize, oh, this is not what I thought it was because I don't like business.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think you definitely have to be aware that that's, unless you're the exception to the rule, that's the direction your career would take if you pursue jiu-jitsu as a means for your income. Right? But yeah, I mean, a lot of people just say like, oh man, I don't care. All I want to do is train, like as long as I'm on the mats, and it's like, well, it's like the personal trainer thinking like, yeah, but man, like, when I'm training a client, I'm going to lift too. And like, I just want to lift all the time. And it's like, man, it's like not how it fucking works really.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like it's easier for me to fit in a huge amount of volume compared to other people, but because I'm there all the time. But I reckon your job could be, doesn't matter what your job is, man. Like your job could literally be rubbing the bellies of puppy dogs, and you'll still have days where you're like, I don't want to fucking go to work. Like it doesn't matter what your job is. Anyone who tells you that that's not the case, I reckon is full of shit. Doesn't matter what your job is. You have days where you couldn't be fucked. Right, 100%. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think it means you necessarily have to have a degree in business or anything. But
no,
I think
against it.
the quality of like, obviously, if we look at it like a restaurant. If you want to run a restaurant, there's heaps of shit, way more than running a jiu-jitsu gym that goes into running a restaurant. But like, if you're also the head chef, like you can't be some average line cook and then go, I'm going to open a restaurant and you've crap food or whatever. Yeah, you could, but it's just going to be whatever. Like, I don't know, keep the food good, people. Anyway,
love the
that's
restaurant
my
analogies.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm just thinking about food at the moment.
Yeah.
I wanted to, unless you had something else on that point.
No. Go on. Over to you.
So I wanted to ask you, and then I'm going to share something with you just via WhatsApp to get your live reaction. What would you say is a jiu-jitsu injury that everyone has had and you get from time to time, but it's one of those injuries that, like, it's not a real injury, but it's something that's like, oh, fuck, this is annoying or this hurts or whatever?
I'd say jarring your fingers or your toes.
Yeah, so, yeah, ones like that. I instantly thought of when you accidentally, like, cut your fingernail too short or something, and you're like, fuck, these little things or whatever. Yeah. But another one is mat burn. Right?
Yep.
Everyone's had mat burn.
Yep.
I'm going to share with you, Kieren, not only the worst mat burn of my career that I sustained last week, but the worst mat burn I've ever seen. So I'm going to send you some photos of it now.
Is this of you?
Of me. This was last week.
Okay.
So I'm going to send you a photo of what it looked like day one, the day it happened.
Where is this burn located?
Yeah, on my nuts. On my knee. So this first photo is the day it happened. There's a bottle cap next to the mat burn for size reference.
Oh, damn.
So that's it. So that's a pretty big fucking mat burn, right?
Yeah, that's solid.
This was it, day 2.
It's infected.
And this is it today.
That's infected. What the fuck? That's gross, man.
It is the biggest. So obviously you guys can't see these photos, but I mean, I used to skateboard when I was a teenager.
It looks like
this.
that, yeah.
This looks like road rash.
Yeah, it looks
on
like you came
knee.
off a skateboard or a bike or something.
I even when I used to skateboard and ride dirt bikes and whatever when I was younger, I'd never grazed my knee as bad as this mat burn is.
How did it go from the first one to the third one though? Do you reckon it's infected?
I don't know. From the second to the third, there's like 3 or 4 days between that, so I don't think it's infected.
Growing though, dude. It's getting bigger. I don't know, man. Maybe like I know you're covering it. I can see you cover. Oh, you've been training on it though, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's.
But it's all. Yeah, but it's like covered, and then I've got a knee brace over it and everything. But it's I've never had mat burn that bad, and I was training at Joey's gym, and he's got those textured mats that I spent my whole time in Brazil on those textured mats. And I think when you train on them all the time, you just need a week or so for your skin to get used to. It's not like you get calluses, but your skin quite quickly toughens up a little bit to the textured mats. But I don't have those textured mats at our gym, so I was training at Joey's gym. And I shot a double, but one of those shots where you kind of like drop down onto both knees.
Yep.
And it was super hot, as I mentioned at the start. It's very hot here at the moment. So it was very hot and sweaty. And my dropping down to my level change onto my knees, I think like if you were to watch a video of it, it wasn't recorded, but if you were to watch a video of it, I felt like Cristiano Ronaldo like celebrating after a goal, how football players are like run and slide. Like I slid so far on the mats, and instantly I knew. I was like, and I just looked at my knee and I was like, oh my God. And I think it's maybe because it's the knee I had surgery on that I had a persistent like fluid build up, and I was getting anywhere from 60 to 100 mils of fluid drained from my knee regularly, that maybe the skin there on my right knee, because my left knee, I got the 0 mat burn despite sliding on both knees. So I wonder if that knee, the skin is, a bit softer, or it had become thinner from the constant stretching and contracting or whatever. But I tell you what, the shower after that mat burn incident was a tearjerker, bro.
Nice.
It was a tearjerker.
Oh, that's vicious. Yeah, man. So a story about mat burn. There's a huge influx of new people training at the gym I'm training at in Sweden. Like literally it went from being like 20, 25, 30 max people on the mats to being like, I think we maxed out at 80 people on the mats. Huge mat space so it can accommodate, but there's heaps of new white belts. And a couple of the younger guys that just started, 16, 17, 18, somewhere around there, they're getting mat burn on their toes. So like when they're in like side control or whatever, if you don't have active toes, like up on your toes, and you're up on like the I suppose the instep of your foot, and you're like trying to stop yourself from sliding, you can get mat burn all along your toes and on your feet. And one guy in particular, like a lot of them have it, but one guy in particular has it real bad. And he was sort of like asking me about it, and he's like, what should I do about it? Should I cover it? I'm like, yes, bro, you should fucking cover it. Like he's still training with open wounds. I'm like, if you do not cover it, chances are they will get infected. And if you haven't had the pleasure of having a skin infection from not covering a wound and training jiu-jitsu, it is not fun. It tends to multiply. It literally grows on your body, like the infections you can get. So, and they can be very dangerous, particularly if you get something like staph. But it's slightly different what I'm talking about, just like a random infection. So if you get mat burn, you must cover it. Otherwise, it will get infected. And then you'll go from having maybe, a couple days off jiu-jitsu to having weeks off jiu-jitsu and having to be on antibiotics. Cover your shit.
Yeah, definitely, like, not just mat burn, any open wounds. And while we're on that note, I don't know why some people do this, but man, if you're covering a wound, like, it's fine. Lots of us, like, sometimes I've got a little cut on my knuckle at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Not from long fingernails. It was from my own. I was on someone's back, and like we were someone that I have the relationship with, that we can roll quite aggressive. So we're really aggressively grip fighting while I was on his back. And in the aggressive grip fight, my own thumb nail, despite them being cut, like dug into my other hand. Like, and I just took a huge chunk out of my knuckle with my own, so like people always have little random cuts and stuff on them, right? That's fine.
Yeah.
But man, when I see people training and they're covering a cut solely just with a Band-Aid,
No.
In what world are you thinking that that's staying on during jiu-jitsu? Put a Band-Aid and then you got to put tape over it.
You tape it, yeah. You tape
it. As if you were strapping it, like not to the extent that you would. If you got a cut on your ankle, you don't then need to fully strap your ankle But I mean, like, man, like that Band-Aid is coming straight off. Mm-hmm. You have to. They're not jiu-jitsu proof.
What I do is I Band-Aid it, right? And then I tape it with like a thin tape just to cover the whole thing. And then I put a heavier duty, like a strapping tape over the top of that. And it will stay on.
Yeah,
Particularly fingers.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cover your shit, tape your shit. You're all gross.
Yeah. Well, you just get infected, man. Like, you know, I got an infection when I was white belt, like when I first started training. I had a cut on the back of my head, and it was like, oh, it's fine. And I just kept training. I didn't know any better, and then it just, it got infected and grew and grew and grew.
Yep.
And
well, put it this way: like cuts can get infected even when you don't do a sport like jiu-jitsu. So,
yeah, exactly. But when you're doing jiu-jitsu and someone's like sweating in it, anyway.
Anyway, that's enough gross shit.
So my next topic that I wanted to bring up is another question statement. And for those that don't know, Adam recently started making jiu-jitsu content on
I thought that was going
YouTube.
somewhere completely different, that I was going to be like, I can't believe he's saying this because I've got something to say on it. But then you didn't go there. It would have been hilarious. I thought you were going to say... I literally thought you were going to say, for those who don't know, Adam has recently started making his own ice cream. And I was going to be like, yes. I was going to be like, I have, and I've got something to say. Anyway.
Food is on your brain constantly, bro. Ice cream, restaurant analogies. Okay. Anyway, Adam has recently started making jiu-jitsu content. And it's vertical videos on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Now, my question to you, Adam, on my statement thing is, what do you think about making the jiu-jitsu content? And think back to before you started making this podcast and before you started making the content, the vertical videos. Is it what you thought it would be? Is it as easy or as difficult as you thought? What advice would you give to your previous self? Just, open slather there. I just wanted to bring that up.
I don't really have any thoughts on the podcast. Like if I think about the podcast, my main thought just goes to, I look forward to us not only being back in the same time zone, but we're, getting our ducks in a row, so to speak, to be in a quote unquote studio recording again. I miss the proper, I miss the proper recording sessions. Not that these aren't, but I don't know. I'm excited about, we had a few guests on earlier, but even then it was a bit tricky because we recorded, out of your place, which was fine, but it was like you were inviting someone into your home and whatever. It wasn't like we had this commercial facility to record at or whatnot. So, I look forward to that and all the possibilities that can go with that. Yeah, not just being the same time zone, but the same studio. When I think about the content, like the vertical stuff, I don't know. I guess I haven't done it for long enough or am not significant enough in the space that I've reached the point where I've had to deal with trolls or, people shit talking me online and stuff, because even though I know that, there'd be people commenting on a instructional from Gordon Ryan and saying that the technique doesn't work or something. It's like fuck, so of course people will talk shit about anyone, but I haven't had to deal with that yet, which I know for some people is easier than for others, and I'm not sure how I'll deal with it. Like, for example, I personally enjoy playing like video games online, but if I'm in a game that has like voice chat where you can hear the other players, like I mute it, straight away, because I don't want to interact with these people that for every 100 games that you play, only one of those 100, it's a nice bunch of people. Usually it's a bunch of fucktards, right? Like online people tend to be really horrible. And I think a lot of people, I'm not trying to be negative, but I think maybe not everyone, but a good chunk of people would agree with me on that people can be pretty horrible online.
There seems to be a common denominator in this situation.
What, are you telling me you don't? Are you saying I'm the common denominator? Are you telling me you don't
sounds
interact?
Like you might be.
You telling me?
Out of 100 react? No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. When it comes to online gaming, online chats, particularly if it's a competitive game, we have to like specify. We're talking about games that have anything that has competitive or ranked, like a leaderboard, like a rank up system, like League of Legends, like Counter-Strike, like Valorant, like, I don't know, fucking insert your competitive PvP, fucking World of Warcraft even can be a little bit toxic. And you're playing with people that you don't know, or like matchmaking. Yeah, it can be fucking toxic. 100%.
Yeah.
Overwatch is pretty fucking
yeah.
toxic. Oh my God.
But anyway, so I try to remove myself from those situations. But I enjoy, I sometimes get some comments and people tend to enjoy the content. And I found it quite difficult at the start because it was even just the way you're trying to deliver the information is very different to actually teaching jiu-jitsu. I mean, you've got 30 seconds and there's not a whole lot. I mean, you would know, and anyone listening would know, you could do a private with your instructor and you could end up spending 30, 40 minutes still just talking about the one technique, right? Not all the time, but sometimes, right? It's like, well, sometimes you can physically be in the room with the person and still after 30 minutes, you still don't get it. Like, how am I supposed to get through to someone in 30 seconds? But I kind of had to change the way I thought about it. And, you and I spoke about that. And so it got easier. It started to feel less cringe when I record the videos. Like in the beginning, it felt really false and fake. I'm kind of used to it now. And for my level of editing and whatever, I've kind of gotten used to, I know it's very simple, but for my skill set and the amount of time I put into sitting there on my phone and whatever, I've kind of gotten used to it. And, I don't know if I'd yet say I enjoy it, but I enjoy that other people seem to like it. I enjoy sharing that information, and I don't think I'm unique in any way. Like, there's people who are doing the exact same stuff, people who know less than me that are doing it, people who know more than me that are doing it. But, if it gets to some people and they like it, and even if it's just my students, a lot of my students just see it and they enjoy it. So yeah, but you and I have spoken about how much better it could be when you're back in Australia as well, with all the stuff about that sort of, that world. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm invested enough I look at it and I go, oh, I want it to grow more. I want it to, I want it to do better. So I'm invested enough that I care.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of interesting points. And I think you maybe had a little bit of a head start in the whole process, because in terms of like what to expect, because you've had a hand and have seen like secondhand how like making content before. Like we make content together, like the podcast, of course, and you see what goes in on that. So I suppose you weren't like a lot of people. What I'm trying to say is a lot of people can be very fucking naive. So many people are naive in this space, and I get questions and inquiries and people asking for advice on making content and everything like that. And hey, I want to start this. Like, Hey, don't get me wrong. I don't mind having a chat. I love talking about creating content. I love all this stuff. But I get so many messages like on a weekly basis about people wanting to start, a YouTube channel, wanting to get my advice on starting a podcast. I get people that I don't even know messaging me through people that I do know, asking me about it. Like my brother-in-law hit me up the other day and he's like, oh, my friend has some questions about starting a podcast and wanted a whole bunch of advice. So I sent him like a PayPal link. It's like $9.99, and then you can But the point is that before you start doing it, when you look around at all these content creators, when you look around whatever content you like, whether it's gaming, whether it's streaming, whether it's what we do, podcasting, whether it's creating jiu-jitsu content, creating jiu-jitsu YouTube videos, you see, Jordan teaches jiu-jitsu, or you see jiu-jitsu and you think, oh, I can do that. It doesn't look that hard, like whatever. Okay, and then you start doing it. It's like the Dunning-Kruger effect. You know what I mean? It's the amount of confidence that you have in your ability to do something is disproportionate to the amount of experience or expertise you have. And so it's very easy to look at creating content and from the outside perspective and think it's super fucking easy. Like take this podcast, for example. Like people that don't really have an understanding on how it works may think, oh yeah, you just get some microphones, you just go on Zoom and you record a podcast and then you upload it. It can't be that hard. Like, well, I'm not saying that it's hard. I'm just saying that you'd be fucking surprised. And just because you think that your idea is good about a podcast you want to start or a video that you want to make, even after you've started a YouTube channel, doesn't mean anyone else would think it's good. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't make it. But what I'm trying to say is there's a balance between making content that you enjoy making and making content that is worth watching. And I just wanted to go on a rant. Not to discourage anyone from making content, just maybe if that is you and you think, oh yeah, these videos on these jiu-jitsu Instagrammers or whatever, they're it's super easy and I could do it very easily. There is a lot more under the surface than first may appear. So I'd encourage you, give it a go, but it may not be what you expect.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. As someone who, if you look at the content that I'm doing, like as someone who wants to do zero editing, like you look at the content I'm doing and like it may look like it has zero editing, but like there's still shit you got to do, right? Like you've still, even after you record it, you still got to like trim it a little bit and you got to put the subtitles in there and whatever. And then you got to, get what do you call it? Like the title screen and then write the description and then you upload it to I'm just like agreeing to your point where people think it's like, oh, so I just hit record. There's one button to record the podcast and then one button to upload it. That's easy. And you're like, no, man, it's not just a matter of pressing one button, have a conversation, and then press the other button and you're done. Same as a shitty little Instagram video like I do, even though that's about as basic as it comes, it still comes with some work, right? So then when you see those ones, like a lot of the cooking ones that are like vertical content where they chop the they happen to also be chopping an ingredient, but cut it. Yeah. They cut man, like that would be I don't know if there's software that automatically does that. I'm not sure, no, but like that would be a pain in the ass, bro. Like that looks like a nightmare to put together, like like it's fuck.
Yeah. I made similar content, and for those that don't know, it's like ASMR content where the editor is cutting directly to the sound. So it's like basically you're emphasizing the chops. So say you're cutting a carrot, they would cut the video. Let me use the word chop and cut. So if you're chopping a carrot, you would cut the video so it plays the sound of the knife going through the carrot. And then stitch it all together. And so it's like constantly moving, new stimulus. That type of editing is very time consuming, not to mention the actual filming of it. And so I was, I've filmed different content, like different camping style content. And you see it on YouTube. It's like the ASMR camping niche. And you see it on YouTube and it looks super easy, right? It looks super easy. Like dude just fucking setting up his camera on a tripod, filming his camping trip. But the actual reality of it is so much different. And that's not to say that even if you have the skills as being a videographer, you know, you may get overconfident in that, and you may be making really pretty content that looks nice, but that is so boring and no one wants to watch. I want to share a little story that I ran into yesterday. I don't know how I got it. I was on YouTube Shorts, right? And this short came up where this guy was talking about how he made a free commercial for a popular streamer, and he got his reaction to it. And it was a bit of clickbait to advertise the actual video. So I watched the video, right? I wanted to see it. And he's a filmmaker, like a videographer. I don't think he's, you know, super well known, but he's like, you know, up and coming on YouTube. He's got like 30,000 subscribers, so he's doing well. And what this guy did is he made a commercial for this streamer's whiskey. This streamer, very popular streamer, Dr. Disrespect. Many people would know him. He came out with a whiskey or whatever. And the way he got his attention is he donated $300 on his stream with a link to the video and said that he used over $100,000 worth of equipment and hired 11 people and worked on this video for weeks to create a free commercial for his whiskey. So, you know, the fact that he donated, he got intrigued, the guy watched it. And the actual advertisement for this whiskey that this guy made, it was a 60-second ad, was fucking garbage. Like, now, if for whatever universe that guy listens to this, hey man, much respect to the fact that your cinematography was on point. It was beautiful, like the presentation, the cinematography, the lighting, the editing, everything was really, really nice. But the story of the ad was fucking terrible. It was far too long. It was so boring. It was drawn out, and the advertisement had nothing to do with the whiskey or the target demographic. So it was a streamer's whiskey, right? And the ad was like some random B-roll clips that they made of a guy like practicing soccer. Like he was doing solo soccer drills. So they had really nice camera technique where, you know, the guy was dribbling the ball, and they used really nice B-roll techniques that have been done in a million commercials. I can name like 3 off the top of my head because I've tried to emulate similar sort of tactics in commercials I've made. And then like they had some chick welding something, like grinding something, and the sparks are flying into the whiskey, blah, blah, blah. But the whole concept that they're going for was like, oh, a hard day's work deserves a hard whiskey. But it's the complete wrong demographic. It looks stupid and out of place. Like the whole soccer thing, and then have the grinding thing. Like I got the idea, but it's overdone. It's been done in a million commercials, like much better, by the way. And I'm not trying to shit on the guy. I'm just trying to say that this is a very valuable lesson for even people like him that have amazing videography skills and can produce something like that to that standard, can still miss the mark completely when it comes to making content. So just because you think that your idea is good doesn't mean that anyone wants to fucking watch it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Kieren's angry. Yeah, the content. Yeah.
I'm passionate, bro.
Yeah, the content space is hard, but
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that commercial, but
no one's gonna see it, bro. Yeah. Like the streamer's like, you know, it had to be nice because he's got tens of thousands of people watching him. He's like, oh, I like it.
Yeah.
Dude, the comments. I'm sorry, but you go into the video, the comments are shredding it, and the comments are coming from the Dr. Disrespect's fans. Like, so this is who's going to buy the whiskey. If the fans tell you the ad sucks, listen to them. It means that it fucking sucks, bro. Overwhelmingly, the comments were negative because it just completely missed the mark. I think this guy had an idea of cool shots that he wanted to make, and this was an excuse to do it, and he just missed the fucking mark, man. He just like, and I've some of my videos, dude. I have 14,000 subscribers. Sometimes I publish a video, and like a month later, it'll have 500 views, and maybe I spent 30 hours on it. It just goes to show that, you know, sometimes you miss the fucking mark. Sometimes you make content that is boring and no one wants to watch it. So instead of blaming the audience or like whatever, then you need to look at your content and be like, why did it not perform? And it's not the algorithm, man. It's not the algorithm. It's the content.
Yeah, well, I mean, going back to your original question, like I think for now, I'm okay with, like, I guess where I'm at and what I'm doing with content. Like, obviously, it could be way better, but I think it's okay for what I put into it and how I feel about it. But I don't know. So far, it's a experiment. It's a you know, it's an ongoing experiment to see how I feel about it in another like 3 or 6 months or something like that, and go from there.
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to ask your opinion on what you think of this. Why is it that, so we recently had like quite a few competitions, events that were on. So one of the ones like last week or whatever was the UFC Fight Pass or UFC Invitational or whatever it's called. That's where the one where originally it was supposed to be Mason Flower fighting Gordon Ryan, but Gordon Ryan got injured or something and pulled out. And so Meregali fought. He took Penna's back and submitted Penna. Whatever. Nicky Rod fought Yuri Simoins and yeah. But my question is, why at UFC Fight Invitational thingy do they have the competitors like essentially in the same kit? Like both competitors, like Meregali and Penna, it's like they're both in black shorts and black long sleeve rashis. That's like, okay, I mean, you can still watch it, but I mean, this is also coming from the organization that made fighters not be able to wear what they want and come in with Reebok deals, and one dude's in this color trunks and the other dude's in this color trunks. And like, why can't you have the dudes in different colored rashis to, I don't mean from cause I'm getting lost while watching it. Wait, who's who again? But you know, just for like the contrast and in the gi, it happens at the professional level. Like you can't both be in a white gi or you can't both be in a blue gi. It's the same in judo, right? You always have to have one in each color. And I don't know, like I think it's like such a no-brainer to have the athletes in different colored rashis, like especially at an event. It's not an IBJJF event where you have to wear a ranked rash guard, right? It would be so much more visually pleasing if they were in opposing colors. Like, I don't know if it's maybe simply because they don't want to have a dude in a black one and a dude in a white one, because then it'll be like, oh, I'm a white belt, you know, like I'm not wearing a white belt rash. I don't know if that's the reason or not. But man, like all the fighters, they were all just in like the same, essentially black rashis. I don't know. I just find it like not very pleasing visually to watch. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I didn't watch it, but it's funny that you mentioned that, because I've noticed that I have been watching ADCC trials, just, you know, randomly, whatever, here and there, watching the ADCC trials. And there's been a lot of occasions where, you know, they'll be in the semifinals or something, and both athletes will have the exact same kit on because they have the same sponsor.
Oh, really? I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, man. It's so funny. They like look like fucking like the Spider-Man meme where they're like pointing at each other. It's happened so many times this year, particularly because there's a couple of sponsors that are like dominating that space, and they're giving these guys money, giving them free gear, so it's awesome. And then you see them, they're trying to promote a specific kit, and they get them to wear the same kit. But maybe this company will have like 5 sponsored athletes fighting at the same ADCC trials. And they're coming up against each other. It's so funny. It's happened so many times. And it's really good.
Yeah. I mean, something like that's a little different and doesn't bother me because it's like a bracket, right? And but it's like, man, if you have a coordinated event, like, come on, man.
I agree. Like, they don't let in the UFC actual, they don't let them wear the same color. They coordinate their outfits. You know, they are allowed to. They get assigned a color, or they're allowed to select out of a certain arrangement of colors.
And like I figure like why not do the same thing? Like, you know, I believe even in the fucking new, what's that? I know it was originally like Russian or Eastern European, but now the UFC has that like slap fighting or whatever.
Oh, power slap.
Power slap. Even in that, the fighters have different colored shirts on or whatever. Yeah. Like, fuck, man. Yeah. Like, come on. Just makes
it a red corner, blue corner.
You know, and especially like, you know, if you got crazy leg entanglements going on, and imagine both dudes are wearing black spats or something. It's like, whose leg is where, you know, like.
Yeah. And black's not the most contrasty color, you know, it's not a color at all, but like it's not super contrasty. So it's hard I get what you're saying. It's hard to differentiate who's who and what's what.
But while I'm already all worked up, this gets vent on something else that has nothing to do with jiu-jitsu or anything.
Okay.
But so for anyone who doesn't know, a little while back, I lost my license and I got it back. And when you get your license back in Australia, you get all your points back. We have a point system here. I don't know how it works in other places. And of all the sort of driving infringements tickets I've ever gotten in my whole life, I feel like really only one of them was kind of justified. Like there was some that were kind of like, oh, come on, man, give us a break, or ones that like weren't my fault at all. Like for example, my first ever ticket I got was a speeding fine, but it was while I was, it was when I was much younger and I had a really shitty car. And I don't know if you ever had like a crappy car and you're doing a drive. Like I was doing the drive from Sydney up to Byron, which is like for international listeners, it's like a 10-hour drive driving up the coast. And, I had a shitty car and you're going along a freeway or highway where the speed limit's 100 kilometers an hour, but you see that there's a hill coming up and you've got some crappy old car that by the time you're even a third of the way up that hill, you're going to be with your pedal to the floor, but you'll only be doing 60 because your car's a piece of shit and you're just crawling up this hill at 60 even though the speed limit's 100. So what would you typically do? You'd get a little bit of a run up, right? Like everyone would. Yep. And, so that was my first ever speeding ticket. I was getting a run up and I got done doing like 120 and 100 or something, getting a run up for this fucking hill. And I was like, so I'm not saying I wasn't speeding, but it was kind of like, oh, fuck, come on, bro. And then, the one not long ago where I got a ticket for pulling out in front of someone when the dude crashed his motorbike into my car.
Yeah, that was
long story short, like I had right of way, but then I stopped to not kill the dude on the motorbike. But because I stopped, it then deemed me as being the person who had pulled out in front of him. And, so then it was my fault. So I copped it and he lived. Whereas if I just had not stopped at all and kept driving normally, it would have been his fault, but he would have died. So like that was bullshit.
Should have kept driving, bro.
Sorry.
Learn. You kept driving.
Yeah. And then like the one that made me lose my license was using my phone. So that was the legitimate one.
Okay, fair enough.
So anyway, I got all my points back. I just got a speeding fine.
Oh, some people just don't learn, eh?
Man, it's so bullshit. Let me tell you about this speeding fine. Man, so what is in standard sort of suburban-ish areas, what's typically the speed limit?
50.
50 or 60, right? Depending where you are, right? Like
if it has street lights, it's 50. No posted signs, street lights, it's 50.
But yeah, like so it's 50 or, you could be going along, let's say.
Kilometers, that is.
Yeah, kilometers. But, like let's say going past Centennial Park on Oxford Street, like that's 60, even though it's got street lights, right? And whatever.
Yeah, because there's posted signs that state 60.
Yeah. So it's usually 50 or 60 kilometers an hour is usually like your standard speed limit in the city of Sydney as a whole. Like if you didn't,
or in
for example,
city CBD, a lot of
no, I don't mean in the CBD. I just mean like,
in general,
if someone said, "Hey, Kieren, what's the average speed limit in all of Greater Sydney?" You'd go, "I don't know, like fucking 60 or something, like whatever."
Yeah, 50 to 60. Yeah.
Or if you didn't know the speed limit, you would like, I don't want to get caught speeding. I'll do 50 or 60.
Yep.
Anyway, so I was driving along and 40 kilometer an hour zones are typically for what?
School
zones.
Or for some condensed streets.
For some 40. Shitty reason, right?
Yeah.
So
I think I see where this is going.
I was driving along. Most of the time, if you see a speed camera telling you 40 kilometers an hour, it's because it's for a school zone. Very common to have speed cameras in school zones. That's really, really common here. Mm-hmm. So I was driving along on a Sunday to a jiu-jitsu competition, and it's 60, and this area goes from 60 to 40 and then back to 60. And so I for sure saw this speed camera and thought 40, but it's not it's a Sunday, it's not a school day, so it's 60. And I kept doing 60, or to be more specific, when I see a speed camera, I always do under it. So I got done doing 54, right?
Oh.
But the thing that pisses me off the most is that this speed camera, and if you Google this particular speed camera, man, it's purely a speed trap. So I'm going to give you some numbers, and like people who work in the motor industry, so like the NRMA are like, this speed camera is a joke, and like people are like, it's been there since 2021. How much money do you think this speed camera made in the 18 months leading up to it being changed from 60 to 40?
Oh, before it got it, or before
yeah.
It was
so
changed?
when it was a 60 kilometer an hour speed camera,
in 18 months in Sydney.
yeah,
we're in the millions for sure.
$20,000.
Oh, okay, all right.
How much do you think it's made since it went in the 18 months post going to a 40 kilometer zone?
In the millions?
$4.7 million.
Jesus.
So, man, this like, and it's
That is a
this
speed trap.
speed camera is just a fucking speed trap, like
That
piece of shit. That
Why does the speed reduce to 40? What's around the area?
I've no idea. Like, I haven't been back. It's not somewhere I usually ride through, so I don't know, and I haven't been back there since. Like, but you know, like,
Yeah.
so again, it's. I'm not saying I wasn't speeding because I got done doing 54 in a 40, but like, you know, like this girl's so livid, bro. I was like, that is.
Yeah.
I actually don't really even care about the money for the fine. It's more the points on my license
Yeah.
after I
I'll
just
be
got
honest.
them back.
When you started telling the story, I was kind of like erring on the side of the speed camera's side for a bit there. I was kind of like, well, you were speeding, but now that you describe it, because I hate, for no reason, if it goes from like 60 to 40 back to 60 when there's no schools around, there's nothing like that, or it's not like a constricted road, or
Yeah, it wasn't like
whatever.
it wasn't like it was 40 because there were roadworks and construction workers or anything like.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously someone deemed there to be a reason, but you know, you look in the Daily Telegraph and the paper and stuff, like, you know, there's
People
heaps
blowing
of
up about it.
people unhappy with this particular speed camera. And I mean, it went from making 20 grand in an 18-month period to almost $5 million in an 18-month period.
That's
Like,
crazy.
it's me and a whole bunch of other people who have been scammed by this camera. And I mean,
How much is the fine?
$360.
Fuck.
Yeah,
sucks,
man.
bro.
So like,
That
That's
sucks,
mine.
man. That sucks. Shit.
yeah,
Well,
so fuck that shit.
man.
Fucking speed cameras, taking my points on my license, going to some shitty jiu-jitsu competition. Fuck. Anyway, that's all I got to say on that.
Beyond law and order. Yeah, well, I had a shitload more topics, but we're kind of getting a bit long here. So
We're getting a bit
Maybe-
long. Let me hang on, mate. I got just
save it
one
for
more.
another day, maybe. Okay.
Well, yeah. Let me just go one more.
All right.
So a lot of people, I know you don't, but a lot of people like have milk in their coffee, right? They have like a latte or something.
Yep.
It's very, very common. And I've actually stopped doing that. I still put a little bit. I essentially make a long black now just with a
With a
little
dash.
bit of, it's more than a dash, but it's like,
Oh, that's
about
right. It's 200 mils.
yeah, I put 100 mils in.
Okay.
Right. So
right.
anyway, I typically don't eat until 12, not because I intentionally try to fast. It's just usually if I eat in the morning, I have a bad habit of like, instead of just having a coffee in the morning, I usually partner it not with something healthy like some scrambled eggs or
Muffin.
whatever. Yeah, I usually end up having a muffin or banana bread. So I just try not to eat till 12. Not all the time, but just to not eat an unnecessary piece of cake for breakfast. But this other day, I was like really hungry. It was like 10 o'clock or something. I was like, fuck, I'm a bit hungry and I'm about to head out. And then I was like, oh, and I'm going to take like my vitamins as in like just magnesium and creatine and all that sort of shit. I was like, but I'll have it with some food. And I thought, oh, I'll just quickly throw back a protein shake. And because I was kind of running out the door and I was like, I'll just quickly have a protein shake with that. And I thought, well, hang on. A protein shake, that's fine. Like a lot of people have a protein shake. But a lot of people have milk in their coffee. I don't have milk in my coffee, so I've got some milk up my sleeve that I can use. I was like, hang on. I have in my freezer a protein shake and milk that has been mixed together and frozen, and a machine that turns that into ice cream. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I had ice cream for breakfast the other day, and it was fucking great.
Yeah, if you've never had milk in an actual like protein shake and like just shake it up, you got to shake it up really, really good because it doesn't mix as well as it does with water. But it is fucking it's so good, man. It's
so good. And then I was talking to. Did you meet? Had you? No, you had already moved overseas before Andre started training. Mm-hmm. So Andre, I've given him a shout out before on the podcast. He's the guy who's an ex-professional football goalkeeper. And he's the guy who I mentioned ages ago, who when I asked him why he started jiu-jitsu, and he said that really cool thing where, you know, in a world where we live by instant gratification, you know, jiu-jitsu is like the opposite, you know, like nothing is instant. It's like time and dedication and lots of hard work. And he's like, and I just love the idea of doing something that takes time and commitment, and rather than society nowadays, our brains are so programmed that it's got to be now. Everything needs to be instant. Anyway, he quite regularly listens to the podcast, and I was talking to him, and I was like, man, it's like this fucking ice cream machine. And he goes, and he had just gone back from holidays, and he goes, "You mean the Ninja Ice Creamy, which is what it's called?" And I'm like, "Yes, bro." And he's like, "It's sitting in my cart. I'm waiting to buy it." And then so he just bought it the other day, and so now I've got like a partner in crime, and we're like just like sharing ice cream and stuff. It's the fucking like, bomb.
This reminds me of the time where everyone at the gym started buying like scooters and motorbikes and shit, and then we're like, let's do a scooter club, like a motorbike club, get jackets and everything.
Yeah,
like
we had
a whole bunch of people
us.
got their the motorbike license at the same time, and yeah, this reminds me of that. Everyone's gonna fucking show up with ice cream machines.
You wait, bro. Man, honestly, I'm gonna make it for you when you get back.
All right.
And you'll be. I can't get enough of it. My wife thinks it's ridiculous that I've eaten so much ice cream every day. But it's, I mean, because you know, but it's don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, if the calories were all equal, you would eat Ben and Jerry's or something. So I'm not like into any illusions, but I mean, like, man.
All right.
It's the fucking goods.
Well,
that's all I've got.
We need to get a coupon code or something. We've probably sold like 100 fucking ice creamies.
Maybe. Did you have another one before we go? I know you said you had lots more, but do you have another quick one?
I did, but I do have like something interesting.
Oh, yes. Yeah. All right. Let's go.
This is random, but I came across this guy on YouTube. I'm not sure if I've spoken about him, so stop me if I have. His name's Pirate Software. I found him.
Mentioned him.
I found him like about a month ago or so, maybe a little bit longer. And he is predominantly on YouTube. He's now like branching out to other platforms, but he's started on YouTube. And basically, he's a game developer, like a video game developer. He used to work at Blizzard before it was Activision, you know, or Activision, or Blizzard bought out, whatever. He worked at Blizzard. For those that don't know, that
man, it's so sorry to interrupt. It's so crazy, like how the online, I don't know. I'll just use the generic term algorithm. Yeah, because it's like within the last 2 weeks, he's been popping up in my verticals.
Yeah, exactly. I knew he would. I had a feeling you'd know exactly who it is because even my brother.
But I'd never been to his channel. I've never watched one of his videos.
But you would have seen his shorts
of his. Yeah.
So we're kind of jumping around a little bit. But this guy, Pirate Software, used to work for Blizzard, makes game developer, does lots of live streams. Anyway, 2 months ago, he was at 14,000 subscribers, which that's the same amount of subscribers as my channel. I've got 14.7, so we're about the same size channel 2 months ago. We were pretty much identical. I found him before he was at 50K, but he was like really exploding. So I think it was around 50,000 subscribers when I found him on Shorts because I spent a lot of time on Shorts. And, I started following. I was like, yeah, I like it. Cool, blah, blah, blah. And then time ticks by and he all of a sudden, he goes from like 50K, he's about to hit 100K subscribers on YouTube. And I was there for his 100,000 subscriber live stream. I just happened to be like having lunch or whatever, and I saw it, and when he hit 100K, I was like, oh, wow, that's so crazy that this guy in 2 weeks has gone from like 14K, same size as me, to 100K. That's fucking impressive. And then, you know, a little bit after that, my brother sent me a bunch of his videos. Oh, check this out. Like, have you seen this guy or whatever? And my brother is on no social media except for YouTube. And I'm like, yeah, seen him, blah, blah, blah. The other day, like 2 days ago, this guy hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube. So he went from 14,000, the exact same size as me, to 1 million subscribers. And some might look at that and say, wow, what an overnight success. And you would be right in a way. But what you probably don't know is this guy has been making content consistently, like thousands of hours worth of content consistently over the last 7 years. Yet he went from 14,000 subscribers to 1 million. And that shows a textbook example of exponential growth. And obviously he's changed something. I think he started posting shorts, like really going hard on posting shorts in the last like 2 months. That's why he's, you know, exploded. But his content was perfect for shorts, even though it was streaming. So he's a streamer, so it's longer form content. But it took him 7 years to perfect his storytelling, to perfect his content, his setup, his microphone settings, believe it or not, would have played a huge role because he's like known for having a very deep, like silky voice. And a lot of it is his EQ on his microphone. And yeah, just the stars align. But I just wanted to, you know, tell the story because a lot of people listening to this probably have seen his videos in short and know exactly who I'm talking about, but just probably don't realize it. And yeah, it just goes to show what it takes to be an overnight success. It takes 7 years of consistently showing up.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. Yeah. I was unaware of his numbers and his growth, but yeah, I definitely know who the dude is. And yeah, probably 6 months ago, he wasn't appearing on my shit, but
He wasn't appearing on anyone's shit. He wasn't even appearing on mine. But yeah, 2 months. He's gone from 14K to 1 million. So I will do it in 1 month. So if you want to support me on my journey.
Yeah.
No, but talking about YouTube subscribers, we are fucking super close to getting monetized on YouTube, as in the Beyond Jiu-Jitsu podcast. So for those that don't know, in order to get monetized on YouTube, meaning that you can, like YouTube's going to show you ads no matter what, just means we get paid for them when you see them. Then you need 4,000 watch hours in the last 12 months, and you need 1,000 subscribers. We have something like 10,000 watch hours on YouTube alone. So we have well and truly, we got heaps. And that is normally people's biggest problem, is getting the watch hours. But we don't have the subscribers. Even if you don't watch us on YouTube, it would mean the world to us if you chuck us a subscribe on YouTube. And you could do that by finding the link in the description, because we're super close to getting 1,000, and it'd be awesome. It'd be such a milestone for us as a Christmas. Consider it a Christmas gift.
Yeah, a little Christmas gift. People are like, fuck you assholes, you're not here for the next 2 weeks. Fuck your Christmas gift. Yeah. But guys, thank you so much for listening to our chilled conversation today. It was just a bit of a chat episode to close out the year. We're going to take a 2-week break, and then coming into the new year, I believe our first episode back, we're going to do a little bit of a talking about, how we went with our 2023 goals and what we've got planned and our goals for 2024. So we'll kick the year off with that, and then we'll be full swing in January. I wish everyone happy holidays, whether it's Christmas, well, Hanukkah's already been and gone, but, happy holidays to everyone, whatever you celebrate. Enjoy your new year. And, man, feel free to send us anything over the break. We're always reachable. But if not, guys, happy holidays, and we'll see you next time.